is basically presents with edema. So you should always suspect a case who comes to you with edema clinically, and there would be let me check. Okay, so it seems like there's some slides are missing. Okay, so whenever a child comes to you, let's talk to the scenario first, and then we will discuss about this nephrotic syndrome. So ideally, whenever you are sitting in a clinic and a mother comes to you and she complains that she feels that her child is having facial swelling, especially periorbital around the eyes, especially in the morning, and later in the day it disappears. It happens initially, but later when the days go by, usually mother feels initially the swelling used to disappear by the evening, but now the child has started having edema which has been increasing. Initially it was on the face, now it is on the dependent parts like the pedal edema, or you can say if a child is standing for a prolonged time and sitting for a prolonged time can have edema in the genital region. They can present with ascites. So whenever a child comes to you with the history of edema, and usually if you ask them, there would be a preceding illness of some viral infection like some gastroenteritis or URTIs. So they do come afterwards with edema, and that edema is basically because of proteinuria. So whenever you suspect a child to have nephrotic syndrome, because you see that clinically there is nothing significant except that the child is having edema, and you can see on the clinically, if you look for the pedal edema, you will find pitting edema, and when you will go for the first morning urine test, you would found to have proteinuria, which would be more than 3 plus. It could be 3 plus or 4 plus. We will talk in detail later. And if you will go for the first morning urine, if you will go for protein creatinine ratio of that patient, that would be more than 2 actually. If you see somebody who has edema and you go for protein creatinine ratio, which is a urine test and which basically takes a ratio between the urinary protein excretion and urinary creatinine excretion, and they make a ratio. If that ratio is more than 2, it means that proteinuria is in nephrotic range. But when it is more than 0.4, it is a significant proteinuria. It is not necessarily to having nephrotic syndrome. It could be a nephritic syndrome, which we discussed earlier last week. And when it is less than 0.4, you would say this is a normal proteinuria. Some people do excrete some amount of protein in their normal urine. So significant proteinuria, when we are talking about, if you see a patient with edema and you go for urine DR where you see 3 plus or more than 500 grams per deciliter of urine, or you see protein creatinine ratio more than 1, or I would say more than 2 if it is significant nephrotic range proteinuria. So significant proteinuria of any degree can be accompanied by hypertension, hematuria, edema, or renal dysfunctions. So whenever you will see a child with proteinuria and having hypertension, hematuria, edema, or renal dysfunctions, you would be thinking about the thing which is we discussed last time, acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, which is again a disease which occurred after the acute throat infection, which was because of group beta hemolytic streptococci. But in nephrotic syndrome, it is not necessary to have some bacterial infection, but you can have some viral infection as well. So this area is so hot. Let me take off my mask. So you can have hypertension, hematuria, edema, and renal dysfunctions, but these are the conditions which are not in favor of simple nephrotic syndrome. So whenever you see a patient, I am going to discuss what simple I'm talking about and what is a different kind of nephrotic syndrome. So hypertension, whenever you see a child with edema and hypertension, there's a chance that this could be nephritis, this could be nephrotic syndrome, hematuria, edema, and renal functions. So even last time I showed you this picture, and let me wait. Fine. So looking at this picture, this is basically the cross section of the glomerulus. You can see here that this is capillary lumen. We know that an arteriole brings in blood in the glomerulus, and that blood goes through these glycocalyx. These are the fenestrae through which normal plasma would go through. The other soluble material, solutes would go through this, and then the glomerular basement membrane is there, and by passing through these and these podocyte body cells, ultimately an extract would go in the urinary space, and this urinary space is basically connected to the tubules. So the collecting tubules like distal tubule, loop of Henle, collecting tubules. So ultimately this goes into a system which is of nephron, right? So this is the capillary lumen. It is like छन्नी वाली चीज कि हम चाय डालते हैं और वो पत्ती हमारी यहाँ रह जाती है और वो extract of the tea would go in this space. So blood and this urinary space has got all the extracts, right? So if we go to the other slide, sorry, why that not shifting? Okay, so what is nephrotic syndrome? A clinical manifestation of the glomerular disease associated with heavy nephrotic range proteinuria. I talked to you about this in the previous slide, that whenever you see a child with proteinuria, which is in nephrotic range, and what is nephrotic range proteinuria? When the protein in the urine is more than 3.5 gram per 24 hours. If you collect a sample of 24 hours of urine and you see that in the 24-hour urine there is more than 3.5 grams of protein, you would call it nephrotic range proteinuria. Or in a simpler way, what you can do, the first sample of the urine, you can go for urine protein creatinine ratio, and it is a spot test. It is like you will take a sample of the urine. It is not required to have a 24-hour collection of the urine. You will have a urine sample in which they would do spot urine protein creatinine ratio, and if it comes more than 2, then it means it is nephrotic range proteinuria. How do you do it? You would look at the protein in the spot sample. For example, you have 20 grams of proteins, 20 milligrams of protein, and the creatinine is 2. So you would say the creatinine protein ratio would be like, you will divide the 10 from 2, so it would be 5. So it would be a nephrotic range proteinuria. So I'm just giving you an example. These are not the true numbers, but I'm just telling you that you will put the protein up and you will divide it with the creatinine, and it is going to give you the ratio. There are some laboratories which give you the results with urine protein creatinine ratio, but some of the labs, they do mention the protein in the urine in milligram per deciliter, and then creatinine in milligram per deciliter. And ideally, you should better divide it on your own so that you can get the right ratio of the urine protein creatinine ratio. So let's come to this point that whenever a child comes to you with edema and you go for a urine test and you see there is significant proteinuria which is in nephrotic range, and when you will call it a nephrotic range proteinuria, when it would be more than 3.5 grams per 24 hours urine collection, or it would be urine protein creatination more than 2. So basically it's a trio which is associated with the nephrotic syndrome. For that reason, we call it a syndrome. Syndrome means when 2 or 3 things are collected in the same disease, we call it a syndrome. So large urinary protein loss, whenever protein would be losing, definitely there would be no protein or albumin in the blood. So there would be serum protein levels would be less than 2.5 gram. In urine, it is more than 3 gram per 24 hours. In blood, it would be less than 2.5 grams per deciliter. The clinical would be edema, and hyperlipidemia, cholesterol would be more than the 200 milligram per deciliter. The reason is when protein is losing from the body, the body gives a feedback to the liver that you should produce more protein. So while making more protein, it produces more cholesterol. So for that reason, you get hypercholesterolemia as well. So nephrotic range affects hardly 1 to 3 per 1,000 children less than 16 years of age, and the usual age is between 2 to 6 years. So nephrotic range can occur in 1 to 3 per 100,000 children, but usual presentation is between 2 to 6 years. It can go, above 10 years or 12 years. It can appear in less than 16 years without treatment, and is associated with high risk of death, most commonly from infections. Reason is when the protein is losing, our immune system is mainly comprised of proteins, the hormones, then immunoglobulins. These all are related to the protein in the body. So when the protein would be lost, and there will be extremely less amount of protein in the body, so there would be the body would be immunocompromised, and there will be more chances of infections. If you would not treat these patients, they can die ultimately because of the infections. The most commonest cause of nephrotic syndrome in children, which is approximately 85%, is minimal change nephrotic. This is what I was telling you. Simple nephrotic syndrome and a bit different. We are going to talk about the other ones as well. So minimal change is the most commonest type of nephrotic syndrome, which accounts for 85%, almost 85% in the children. And whenever you see a child with proteinuria, but has got hypertension with it, has got hematuria with that, has got renal functions deranged with that, it means it is very, very less likely to have minimal change nephrotic syndrome, because this is the most innocent nephrotic syndrome, which can be very easily treated with corticosteroid therapy. And more than 95%, which is a very good number, of children with minimal change disease that respond to the glucocorticosteroid therapy. Although glucocorticoid therapy is standard therapy for the nephrotic syndrome. We'll talk. Actually, I'm going a little bit fast. Reason being, we don't have much time. So etiology. We said it could be an idiopathic nephrotic syndrome, something which is happening without any reason. So this is called idiopathic nephrotic syndrome, in which glomerular regions are there. The most common is minimal change. Why we are saying it? It is basically these findings would be on histopathology. So when you look at the histopathology of the biopsy of the kidney, you would see the most common is minimal change nephrotic syndrome. The other ones which show with hematuria, hypertension, and difficult to treat with steroids are the focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. We call it FSGS. Membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis is the most lethal one, because it ultimately ends up as an end-stage renal disease. C3 glomerulopathy and membranous nephropathy. These are idiopathic nephrotic syndromes. When we talk about the secondary nephrotic syndrome, it is basically not a disease of the kidney only. It is a part of some other illness like SLE, which is a systemic illness. In that you can have nephrotic syndrome, proteinuria, or even nephritis. HSP can present with nephrotic or nephritic picture. Malignancies like lymphomas, leukemias can come as in malignancy, and infections like HIV, malaria, or hepatitis B and C, they can present as in nephrotic syndrome. So these would be called as nephrotic syndrome, right? Secondary nephrotic syndrome. If we go to the other slide, let's discuss minimal change nephrotic syndrome. This is our main focus for today's lecture. It is common in boys. The 2:1 ratio is there. It commonly appears between 2 to 6 years, which is preschool age. It can appear as early as 6 months of age and even throughout the adulthood. But the commonest in this age is between 2 to 6 years. When it occurs less than 6 months of age, it is usually not minimal change nephrotic syndrome. Or if there are two school of thought, some say when it is more than 10 years, or even if it is more than 12 years, then there is a less chance of minimal change nephrotic syndrome. So MCNS is minimal change nephrotic syndrome is present in 85 to 95% of the patients less than 6 years of age. In contrast, 20 to 30% of adolescents who present with first time with nephrotic syndrome means if a child comes to you less than 6 years of age and more than 6 months to 6 years of age, 90% chances are this is minimal change. But when an adult would come, it would be hardly 20 to 30% chance of minimal change nephrotic syndrome, which is a मासूम disease of nephrotic syndrome. Minimal change मतलब minimal changes होती हैं, वो ज़्यादा changes नहीं होती. For that reason, it is not very complicated type of disease and it is easily treated. So the more commonest cause of idiopathic nephrotic syndrome in older age group is FSGS, which is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. So हमने क्या समझा कि if it's a child less than 6 years or more than 6 months, the chances are minimal change nephrotic syndrome. When it is older than 10 years or in adults, it would be chances of focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. If a child between 2 to 6 months to 6 years comes to you with suspected nephrotic syndrome, but has hematuria, but has hypertension, has renal functions deranged in nephrotic syndrome, and is not being treated properly or easily with steroids, it means it is not minimal change. Most likely, the second most common is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. The initial episode of idiopathic nephrotic syndrome as well as subsequent relapses usually follow minor infections and uncommonly reaction to insect bites and bee stings. So initial episode usually comes after minor infections. I told you, like gastroenteritis, upper respiratory tract infection. It could most likely it is viral. For that reason, immune system is being a bit mad and it affects the basement membrane. And for that reason, there's proteinuria, which I discussed even earlier in my lecture in nephritic syndrome. Important features in minimal change are absence of hypertension and gross hematuria. So whenever there will be hypertension with proteinuria or there is hematuria with proteinuria, chances are it is less likely to be minimal change. And it is most likely to be focal segmental, but it can be membranoproliferative, it can be C3, it could be IgA nephropathy. So minimal change nephrotic syndrome is one thing you need to remember. And then the second important thing is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. So what could be the differentials? Whenever you see a patient and you see a case, everybody would ask, okay, fine, this is nephrotic. What else can be the reason? So we know in nephrotic syndrome, it is edema, and the reason of edema is mainly hypoproteinemia, means there will be less protein in the body. For that reason, when the protein is less within the blood vessels, the plasma, which accounts for 60% of the blood, would go out of the blood vessels and it will cause edema. It is third spacing of the fluid. So there can be other reasons in which you can have low proteins, like protein losing enteropathy. Like if you see a patient with edema and you haven't done the urine DR, but you don't know either that patient is losing protein from urine or from the gut. So if it is not losing protein from the kidneys, but losing protein from the GI, then you would say that this is protein losing enteropathy. Okay. Uh, Hepatic failure can be a cause. In hepatic failure, usually protein does not form. In acute liver failure, in that case, there would be chances that there will be less protein, more edema. Heart failure, more fluid, not the protein problem, but there will be more fluid accumulation in the body. It would cause edema. Acute or chronic glomerulonephritis, in which there is problem with the nephritic problem, but there would be protein loss as well, along with the RBCs and other things. So it can also present with edema and protein malnutrition. In that case, there will be hypoalbuminemia because of the nutritional deficiencies. So these can be the differentials of nephrotic syndrome. Hold a second, please. Hello? Okay, sorry, it was an important call I had to receive. So let's go to the other slide. So recommendations for the initial evaluation of child. When a child comes to you and assume that this is a nephrotic syndrome, how would you confirm the diagnosis? First of all, you think either this child is having proteinuria or not. You will go for urine analysis and you would see there would be 3+ or 4+ proteinuria. This is normally the urine DR picture in which they tell you the protein in the urine, either it's a trace or it is 1+ or 2+ or 3+. If it is 1+ or 2+, it is proteinuria for sure, but it is not nephrotic range. So in nephrotic range, you would have 3+ or 4+. So whenever there will be proteinuria, more than 3+, you will call it nephrotic range proteinuria. You will go for spot urine protein creatinine ratio. It would be more than 2, which I told you in the previous slides. You would look for the serum electrolytes just to look at there's extravasation of fluid. So I hope there is no other electrolyte imbalance. You will go for blood urea, nitrogen to look at, and creatinine to look either the child is having age appropriate range of urea and creatinine or the renal functions are deranged. And I told you when these will be deranged, it would be less likely minimal change nephrotic syndrome. If there will be loss of protein, definitely there will be low serum albumin and values would be less than 2.5 grams per deciliter, and cholesterol would be high. And I told you it is body's response when it's going to make more protein, it is going to make more cholesterol, and there will be chance that it is going to be more than 200. So it's a trio that four things you would like to see. There will be proteinuria, there will be hyperalbuminemia, there will be hypercholesteremia, which would be the diagnosis of nephrotic syndrome. So in children more than 10 years, if you see there's a child who comes to you with edema, but his age is more than 3 years, 10 years, sorry. So in that case, you need to consider probably this is not a simple nephrotic or the idiopathic nephrotic syndrome. There's a chance it could be, it could be, a secondary nephrotic syndrome like SLE. For that reason, you would like to go and check for Okay, so if a child is more than 10 years, you would look for the C3 levels to see is there any immune system involved or not. In normal nephrotic syndrome, you would have normal C3 levels. But if the C3 levels are low and you see there's hematuria and there is proteinuria, then it is some other cause of nephritic syndrome in which you can go for SLE. It could be acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, others. Anti-nuclear antibodies, anti-double stranded DNA. These two tests are important to rule out the SLE, which is systemic erythematosus. SLE, and then hepatitis B and C to look for secondary nephrotic syndrome. I told you if it's not idiopathic, it would be secondary. It could be because of hepatitis B or C or HIV, which is high risk population can have nephrotic nephritic syndrome. We'll go for the kidney biopsy for children more than 12 years of age, and if it is less than 6 months of age. If a child who is not even 6 months is under the 6 months of age and presents in proteinuria and nephrotic range proteinuria, you would go for kidney biopsy, right? So before starting the treatment, it is very important. We know we are going to give corticosteroids, which are immunosuppressants. So whenever you are planning to start steroids in a child with nephrotic syndrome, which is the appropriate treatment for that, but you know we live in an endemic area for tuberculosis. So for that reason, you need to rule out before starting this steroid or immunosuppressive therapy to see either this child is exposed to tuberculosis or not. Because if that patient is having MT, which is methoxstats, or PPD is protein purified protein derivatives, or IGRA, it is interleukin gamma. Bas IGRA, I'll let you know later in some other lecture. It's IGRA. I don't want to speak something which is confusing right now. So IGRA is something which is basically going to tell you the patient is having latent TB or not. Uncomplicated nephrotic syndrome, except to be steroid sensitive, minimal change. In complicated nephrotic syndromes would include gross hematuria, hypertension, renal insufficiency, hypocomplementemia, or age less than 1 year. Sometimes you call it less than 6 months, but if a child comes to you less than 1 year of age, you should consider that this is not minimal change nephrotic syndrome, and you should consider to go for renal biopsy. So what is the treatment? Treatment is glucocorticoid, or we call it prednisone or prednisolone, and it should be administered as a single daily dose. Sometimes people do give it in divided doses, but it is recommended in new research that it should be given in a single daily dose, and it should be with 60 mg per meter square per day. If a child comes to you and if is 30 kgs, it means a 30 kg child is usually with surface area. M2 is basically the surface area, and surface area is 1, so you are going to give 60 milligram, right? Or you can remember it with 2 mg per kg per day. Means if a child is of 10 kgs, for example, and you want to give him 2 mg per kg, so you are going to give him 20 per day of corticosteroid or prednisolone. And each tablet of corticosteroid or prednisolone is of 5 milligrams. Sometimes it comes in 10 milligram as well. So you need to calculate if, for example, you want to give a child 20 milligram, a 10 kg child, 20 milligram of prednisolone. So you are going to divide 20 with 5 because one tablet has got 5 milligrams. So you will give 4 tablets, right? So and the maximum is 60 milligram. 60 milligram per meter square per day, and the maximum dose is 60. For example, you see a patient with 50 kg child, a 10-year-old obese child with nephrotic syndrome, and the weight is 50 kg. If you will give him steroid with 2 milligram per kg per day, means you are going to give 100 milligram. But if you calculate the dose and it comes more than 60, you would not give more than 60. You will give only 60 milligram daily for 4 to 6 weeks. Reason is 60 milligram is the maximum dose. Before above than this would be toxic. Followed by an alternate day, you will give 2 mg per kg per day for 4 to 6 weeks. And you would expect a response to come in 15 days. Ideally, it comes between 15 days to 20 days. And what is the response? That the child would be having no proteinuria at all. He would completely go in remission. Remission means he would not be passing protein in urine. And then when you will see a child has developed the remission, means that he has responded to the steroid. You will continue it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you will put the same person on every alternate dose with 1.5 milligram per kg. QOD means every alternate day, for a period ranging from 8 weeks to 5 months with tapering of the dose. So the total duration is for 5 months, right? You will give with 2 mg per kg per day every day for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you will taper it off with 1.5 milligram per kg every alternate. You can continue it for 1 month, and then you see again you would look into the protein and it is not coming in the urine. Then you would decrease the dose of 0.5 mg per kg every alternate day would continue, and you would decrease it by 0.5 milligram per kg every alternate day. 80 to 90% of the children respond to the steroid therapy because minimal change disease is a Masoom disease and it really responds to the steroid therapy. So whenever it responded to the steroid therapy, it means this is a minimal change disease. These are the terminologies we use usually in nephrotic syndrome. What is the response? The attainment of remission. Remission means that the child is not passing a protein in urine for 3 consecutive days. You would say this child is in remission. And usually it occurs within initial 4 weeks of corticosteroid therapy. Clinically, I have seen children do give response within 15 days. Remission is, what is response means? उसने रिस्पांस दे दिया स्टेरॉइड थेरेपी को, स्टेरॉइड नहीं, प्रोटीन नहीं आ रहा है यूरिन में. रिमिशन मतलब consistent of urine protein creatinine ratio of less than 0.2, which is normal, or less than 1 plus in normal urine for 3 consecutive days. You will say this child is in remission, means he has responded to the treatment. What is relapse? Urine protein creatination more than 2 is a diagnosis where we saw that more than 2 urine protein creatinine ratio will tell us that this patient is having nephrotic range proteinuria. If that proteinuria comes for 3 consecutive days, then you would say this child has got the relapse. Relapse is somebody who was treated for nephrotic syndrome and later again he developed the same kind of proteinuria. You would say this child is in relapse, but before calling it the child is in relapse, you will go for 3 consecutive day of testing for proteinuria. What is steroid resistant? There are patients who are less likely minimal change disease and like focus segmental glomerulosclerosis or some other kind of nephrotic syndrome are the ones which basically do not respond to the steroids. So when you will call steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome, when there will be failure of achievement of remission. हमने कहा remission क्या है? Protein creatinine ratio जो है वो less than 0.2 हो जाएगी, तो हम कहेंगे child is in remission. अगर 8 हफ्ते तक हमने कहा कि 4 to 6 weeks देना है, ideally response कर गया 6 weeks के बाद you will change the treatment. But if a child has not responded to the steroid, means he is not getting protein feed for 8 weeks of prednisolone treatment, which we have given the 2 mg per kg per day, and 8 weeks have gone and he hasn't showed any response of treatment, you would call it that this patient is steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome. So remember this. Managing the clinical sequelae we know there would be edema, so we need to give them low sodium diet. We need to restrict the water because when there is low protein, the fluid will go out of the blood vessels. Sodium will go out of the vessel. When sodium would go out, it would attract more water. There will be more edema. So you will tell them to take low sodium. You will tell them to take restricted water. If there is genital swelling, especially in males, you would give scrotal support. Otherwise, there can be ulcerations. There can be dragging of the testes, and it can ultimately compromise the blood vessel, and later on it can cause infertility. You can give IV or oral loop diuretics. Uh, sorry. um, IV administration of albumin you can give temporarily to deal with the edema, but uh, usually you do not give. It gets better with steroids, but you feel that there's a lot of edema, there is ascites, there's lots of fluid in lungs, child is not able to breathe properly, there's huge edema that there is, it had started seepage of fluid from the skin, then you can give albumin to give the temporary relief. But because if steroids have not been started or the child is not responding to steroid, albumin would be wasted. But sometimes it gives transient or temporary support. Dyslipidemia, you know that these children are having high cholesterol levels, so you would, and steroids itself is going to cause hypercholesterolemia, and it can cause obesity, which is the side effect of the steroids. You would advise them to have low fat diet. You would tell them to take dietary fat intake should be limited to less than 30% of the calories. Saturated fat intake should be less. There should be less dietary cholesterol intake because